What's up, guys? Welcome to week 5, the NFL live stream here on the Betting Pros YouTube channel. I'm Matt Perrault alongside my fellow Patriot. Are we fans or are we just like guys who like to have our heads knocked in? Andrew Erickson joining us here today. Andrew, how are you, my friend? I don't know if I'll watch much of the Patriot game today, but maybe they get their second win of the year today. How are you?
I think the word you're looking for was witnesses. That's really what we are. We're not really fans. We're not really there to watch. We're just kind of there to witness it, right? Because it's the only game that's on TV unless you have the Sunday ticket. So I lost my free trial Sunday ticket, so I am subjecting myself to the New England Patriots game, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah.
It's our first week with buys. So we have a Jet game and the Vikings going on right now. They're starting the fourth quarter. That is a 17-10 lead for the Vikings. We'll keep an eye on that during the show today. We'll go through all the games here on Sunday. But before we get to those games, if you guys want a chance to score a signed Michael Strahan Giants jersey for free, this being courtesy of our friends at pristineauction.com, all you need to do is head over to bettingpros.com/contest, complete the form, and either download the Betting Pros app, leave a review for a Betting Pros podcast, or subscribe to our social media channels at Betting Pros on X and TikTok and at Betting Pros on Instagram. The more actions you complete, the more entries you will receive. We will announce the winner right here on this Betting Pros YouTube channel. So make sure you guys turn on the notifications so you can be alerted when the new episodes are up to claim your prize to win a signed, autographed Michael Strahan jersey. Enter for free at bettingpros.com/contest. Okay. Let's get into the early games here. As I mentioned, we'll watch that Vikings and the Jets game. Aaron Rodgers did go down with an apparent leg knee situation. He did not miss a single snap. He came back. He did not even go to the blue medical tent, but we'll see how the 40-plus-year-old body handles that after this game is over. Those things can kind of pop up after the body kind of cools down. So we'll see what Rodgers' future is like. Carolina and the Bears. A lot of people are on the Bears today. This number opened at 3.5. We're up to -440 is the total here on this one, Andrew. The Patriot game might be ugly, but this one equally could be as ugly. Who do you like in Panthers-Bears today?
I'm on the Panthers side here. I don't love what the Bears have done. I know that they are undefeated at home this year, but it's been 2 games that they probably should have lost. Again, week 1 against Will Levis, basically giving the Bears the game themselves. They didn't give up a touchdown, and that they didn't come away with the Titans didn't come away with the win there. So yeah. I think that the Bears are kind of overrated, especially I think they're being overrated at home in particular. And the Panthers under Canales, look, last year with Tampa Bay, they were 8-2 against the spread on the road. So I think Canales gets the most out of this offense, especially when they play away from home. So it's going to be, I think, a lower scoring game, but I think that the Panthers can keep it close enough to cover the spread. He said, I have no faith that the Bears through the first month of the year, this is a team that should definitely win by more than a field goal, even though they're playing at home. I like the Panthers here.
Do you think there's some market sluggishness maybe to respond to Andy Dalton, that like people in the market are looking at this and they're forgetting that it's not Bryce Young who's going on the road here, that it's Andy Dalton, and that may change this offense dramatically? Because this feels heavy. I mean, 4 to me, getting off a 3, getting off a 3.5, going to 4 for the Bears feels like a little bit too much respect for Caleb Williams, who hasn't been great this year.
No, I don't think he really has been. I'm not sure why. There's overconfidence, right, with the Bears. Yes, I think it's really, they're playing at home. Bears, the windy city. Maybe it's not great weather. I mean, it's fine. The weather's fine. You know, we're having a heat wave again here in the United States. So I think that the Panthers are the play here. And I like the under early on in the weekend. It's been bet down since it opened up. So, I like the Panthers here.
It's very odd. So I'm wearing the Bruins hat because Jeremy Swayman's back, in case you guys don't know. If you guys are juice heads, daily juicers, you understand. Bruins over 97.5 points. Swayman back, signed this morning, $8+ million a year. He's not going anywhere. So we're celebrating Jeremy Swayman, goaltender for the Boston Bruins, who's back today. It was 100 degrees yesterday in Las Vegas. It's the hottest. It's the latest in the calendar year. It's been 100 degrees in Vegas of all time. So it feels like hockey season, but it ain't hockey season out here. It's still summertime. The pools are still open, and it's still a crispy 100 degrees in Las Vegas. But the weather around the country is very interesting. It's warm in a lot of places in Vegas, although it's not that warm over there in London, where they're playing the game right now between the Vikings and the Jets. So 2 games have my attention. They'll have everyone's attention here. Obviously, Ravens on the road at the Bengals. Number opened up at 1.5, was bet up to 2.5. It's now come back down to 1.5 or 2 at certain sports books, depending on where we're going. There is a massive disagreement as to who will win this game. 48 and a half from a total perspective. I disagreed with my co-host on BVB, Andrew. I'm taking the Ravens. Where are you?
I am not picking a side here because I have my bags packed with Bengals futures. So that's kind of where I already stayed my claim early in the offseason. So there's no point in trying to double down after what I've seen from the Bengals so far this year. So I like the over in this game. I just see the Bengals as a team that they want to throw the ball on every single play. I don't think they're going to try to run it at all. That actually ties into one of my player props in this game is Chase Brown on the under in his total carries. Ooh. He had 2 carries in the first half of last week's game, 2. They were playing the Carolina Panthers, which is one of the worst run defenses in the NFL. I think that's why you saw him get 15 carries. But for the first 3 weeks of the year, it's really been the Zach Moss show. So I don't think the Bengals will run the ball successfully at all. But when they do decide to run, I think they will start at least with Zach Moss. I think Chase Brown is probably a better option in the screen game because they need to put up points here. If I'm the Bengals, how do I take the Ravens out of their let's run the ball with Derrick Henry 30 times and absolutely destroy us? Get up 14-0. Turn them into a drop back passing game, which again, it's pick your poison, right? Oh, you want to face the reigning MVP, drop him back, throw 40 times. You want to face Derrick Henry. At this point, if I'm the Bengals, I'd rather just face Lamar Jackson. At this point, we cannot tackle Derrick Henry. So I think this game shoots out. So I like the over, and I'm just fading the entire Bengals backfield.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm on the Ravens, but for a similar reason, because I am stuck with Ravens futures. So I'm with you. I like the Ravens. I picked them to win the Super Bowl. Last week was I finally felt like, okay, there's the team that I bet. Like I finally was waiting for the team that I bet, and they finally showed up last week. And I'm like, okay, I'm not nuts. Like this team has some weapons that are going to be really difficult to deal with. And as the year goes on and we see the offense with Henry start to click more, I feel more and more confident with the game plan in the Lamar and Henry show, and then getting the football out to the tight ends and to the wideouts. And hopefully Zay Flowers has a good game here today. But I just think I don't like this Bengals team. I just think there's something off with this Bengals team. I have been off on the head coach for Zach Taylor since I covered him in Nebraska. I can't get my head around Zach Taylor as a head coach. I never have. So like him in the Super Bowl was such a mind bleep for me because I was like, how is this guy here? And now I watch the team and I go, okay, that's the team I've been waiting for when it just starts to fall apart and nothing is going right. And the offense is predictable and injuries all over the place for this team. So you don't think they're going to trade T. Higgins, do you? I mean, that was one of the stranger rumors that popped up this week.
If the Bengals were a smart organization, they would have traded him months ago if they actually wanted to get the most for him. So I think that their feet are too deep buried in the sand here to try to make a move off of T. Higgins, even though it makes the most sense. They have clearly a plan for him to leave next season with all the guys they've drafted. They drafted Jermaine Burton this year. They have Yoshi Voss, who's looked good in his second year. Like they're ready to get rid of T. Higgins, but hey, we still think that we can make a run here, and well, that remains to be seen. But I mean, if they lose this game, then it definitely makes more sense that, hey, maybe we should get something for T. Higgins.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. The other game in the AFC, Buffalo on the road against the Texans. I'm only teasing this game. I'm not going to play it, although I do think this game goes over. 2 of my plays here today. Buffalo is it opened at -1. Now they're dogs. It's 1.5, depending on the book. It's 1.5 at South Point here in Vegas. 1 at most books across the country. 47.5 here. Let me tell you why I think this game is going to be a high-scoring game. Because I look at these offenses, and the Bills generally are playing high-scoring games. And I'm not in love with this idea that either offense is going to struggle moving the football. Texans at home. Obviously, Nico Collins has been tremendous for them. They're not going to have their starting running back for this game, but they've been able to move the ball well enough on the ground, and CJ Stroud can get first downs with his legs when he needs to. And on the other side, I think the Bills, I lean towards the Bills to win this game. That's why I gave them 7.5 points and just teased it up saying, okay, you want to give me 1.5? I'll give them 7.5. I think the Bills win the game, but I'm just going to tease it. Where are you on Bills Texans?
Yeah, I think I'm on the Bills side probably too. You look at the Texans and what they've just been historically overrated, especially in the betting markets. They find ways to never cover the spread, even when they win outright. And in close games with close spreads, they end up losing this game. That's why they're home underdogs, right? Against the Buffalo Bills, who are coming off a beat down, essentially. You think that teams in that type of blowout loss against the Ravens and then they're on the road as favorites, right? You usually don't see that. And you talk about Josh Allen doesn't have one of his best weapons, Khalil Shakur. That's been his guy, his GOAT. That's the leading receiver in terms of targets, in terms of receiving yards. So I'm interested to see how other Bills players step up. Is it Dalton Kincaid, the tight end? It's his second year. Do you see more Curtis Samuel, the veteran that they signed that knows Joe Brady's offense? Do you see him take a bigger role in the slot? And I still have concerns about the Texans being so one-dimensional. Yes, they're getting Tank Dell back, but this team has looked so bad rushing the football with Cam Akers ever since that week 1 explosion from Joe Mixon. So I actually like the under on this game. You have key pieces out from the offense. I think that both defenses are a little underrated overall. Again, going back to the headline of this game, Josh Allen versus CJ Stroud, but the Bills don't give up a lot of big plays. Like that's their MO. They're like dink and dunk us to death. I think that they're going to do everything in their power to take away Nico Collins. And as crazy as it seems, this is like a Stephon Diggs game for me. I think the Bills are in a scenario where, hey, we got rid of Diggs, target him as many times as you want underneath. That's not going to beat us. So I see Stephon Diggs having a big statistical game from a targets catches perspective, but it comes in a loss. So ultimately the Bills get what they wanted. Like, hey, yeah, Diggs gets all the numbers, but who ends up winning the game is the Buffalo Bills. And I think it may be a little bit of a lower scoring game. So that's kind of my read on Houston Texans.
Yeah, no, you're on the pro side. I mean, there's a lot of people who I've seen that this morning who are on the under here to this game. I can't get around the idea that these two quarterbacks are going to go and throw the ball a ton today. And that leads to turnovers. That leads to easy scores, short fields. Look, and both these kickers, I mean, it's crazy. And I don't know what it is in the air in Houston, but you can make 55-yarders like they're nothing down there in the dome. So I think we'll see quite a bit of scoring just with kickers and field goals and scoring drives here today. And, I know 47.5 feels a little bit high on this, but both these teams are getting in the mid 20s. 28-24 is not a crazy final in my mind either way, whether it be the Bills or the Texans come away with a win. And so I think the game will go over at 47.5. Indianapolis at Jacksonville. It's amazing because the pick contests here in Vegas put this at 2.5. It's now 3.5. So there's been enough money coming in here on the Jaguars that pushed this thing over 3. It is not going to be Anthony Richardson. It is Joe Flacco. He is starting for the Colts on the road here today against a Jaguars team that has not won a football game yet. And now they're favored. This is one of those head scratching type of games where you're like, wait, what's the number? How are the Jags laying 3.5?
Because it's Joe Flacco. And I think that we have somewhat of a warped perception in our minds, not to compare it to the Tyler Huntley thing, but when you talk about Tyler Huntley the last couple of weeks, it was, oh, well, this guy was good for the Browns or for the Baltimore Ravens for a little bit. But then when you go back and actually see the game log, he's like, oh, wait, like he wasn't really that good. Joe Flacco, yes, it was a great story last year, what he did with the Cleveland Browns. And yes, he can air it out with the best of them, but I don't think that ultimately leads them to a victory in this particular spot. I think that this game shoots out. I love the overs on some of these Colts receivers. I think they're going to drop back to throw 50 times in this game because that's how you beat the Jacksonville Jaguars defense is you do not try to run on them. They don't have Jonathan Taylor. So why run the ball anyway? Shane Steichen knows Joe Flacco has a cannon arm. He knows he's accurate. So I think you're going to see pass attempts from both sides here. But the one thing about the Colts going back to last year with Shane Steichen is they never perform as favorites. Or excuse me, as underdogs. They always lose whenever they're the underdog and whenever they're the favorite. They end up winning the game. So I know we look at this line and we're thinking, man, how are the Jaguars favored here? But it's because they're playing at home and it's a divisional game and it's going to be tight and they're going to find a way to win. I mean, Jacksonville, in a lot of their games, they've been the unluckiest team in the NFL. All right, back to week 1. Fumble the ball in the end zone. They should have gone up 21-0 against the Miami Dolphins and they end up losing that game. They played really well last week against the Houston Texans. They lost that game too. So I think luck's going to kind of err on their side here. They haven't caught a break yet. And maybe getting Joe Flacco under center is the break that they need to get their first win.
Yeah, it's going to be wild to see what happens if they lose this game because there's a lot of heat down there and there's a lot of thought that you could see a firing happening during the bye week for Doug Peterson. And there's anger in that stadium if they lose to a divisional rival. I don't mind laying 2.5. I can't lay 3.5. That number just is too high to me to go over a field goal for a team that hasn't won yet in a divisional game. Yes, it's Joe Flacco, but I don't mind 2.5. 3.5, no way. 45, I have no idea how that game goes. You could see turnovers galore. We've seen a ton of look, Trevor Lawrence last year, I thought the Jaguars were going to be awesome, and I bet their win total over, and I thought we'd see a huge year out of Lawrence, and it didn't happen. This year, It's been bad. It's been more of the second half of last year in terms of bad decision-making and interceptions and turnovers and just bad play out of the quarterback spot for Trevor Lawrence. He needs to have a big game here today to calm down some of the people, give him a big contract. Got to see what happens with him in the future. All right, my sister is going to her first ever Patriot game today. I have no idea why she chose this game, but she was given tickets to go to this game. So she's been sending me pictures and texting me all morning long going, this is my first Patriot game. Can you believe it? She's 25 years old. She's like, I've never been to a Pats game before. This is crazy, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you picked the single worst game in the history of football to go watch. I mean, you need to pay me, and I'm a Patriot fan. You're going to pay me to go to this game. This is awful. My only play on this game between the Patriots and the Dolphins is I'm taking Jacoby Brissett under 10.5 rushing yards because the guy can't move. I mean, he straight up can't move. He has absolutely no business playing quarterback in the NFL. I love the guy for taking the absolute beating that he is taking behind this offensive line for the Patriots, who now are without Andrews, their starting center. They're playing two guys at center today, not one. They're playing two. Their offensive line was bad enough as is here. But on the other side, the Dolphins are a complete train wreck as well. No Tua, clearly. The Patriots defense is going to be without their top two starting safeties today. This is such a no-play game for me. I can't even begin to. I'm laughing at the Dolphins -1.5 or -2, and the total is 37. It's going up, Andrew. The total is going up. How in the world are we going over in this game?
I think that people are looking at how many explosive playmakers are on the Miami Dolphins side of the ball, and they're thinking, man, all you need is Tyreek or Waddle or Achane, just one of these guys to get an explosive play. And you look at the Patriots side, well, they're talking about taking their most explosive player off the field, right? They're talking about benching Ramondre Stevenson. He's not going to start this game. He's going to play. Yep. And I get it from Mayo's standpoint where you can't cough up the ball 4 times in a row and still keep your job. But he also understands if I want to score points on offense, I actually have to have my best player on the field. I still think Ramondre is the best offensive player they have. And I think that we're going to see him sooner rather than later in this matchup. But I think ultimately I do lean on the Dolphins side because they just have more of those explosive playmakers. And it just takes one play from Hill or Waddle or Achane to basically get the win. And I think there's going to be a ton of punts in this game. I've already bet the under in this game because, yeah, like 36.5, that's already so low, Erickson. It's like, yeah, well, this game's going to be 10-7. So that's going to be under 36.5 points. That's 17. So that's my read on this game. It's going to be a lot of 3-and-outs, a lot of punts. And really, it's going to come down to who makes that one big play, whether it's on special teams, a turnover, a sack, fumble. I think that's ultimately going to decide the game. I think that's why Mayo is putting a stress on the fumbles because one fumble, that might decide the game, which team fumbles, because he knows how tight this is going to be. Obviously, the spread is super tight, and it's at home for the Patriots. So that's kind of my read.
Yeah, I'd be very curious. I bet under Brissett rushing, but if you want to bet under Brissett touchdown tosses, under a half, you can do that. If it was 1.5, I would have hammered the hell out of it. But the books are smart. They're like, we're not giving you 1.5. We're giving you a half. So does he throw a touchdown toss today? Patriots don't have weapons. Could Brissett throw a touchdown toss? Yes, but I lean towards what Andrew's saying. It's 10-7, and generally speaking, the Patriots will run the football in the red zone to either Stevenson or Gibson. I'll be very curious to see what Gibson's numbers look like today because Stevenson is getting a lot of heat in the media, and obviously Mayo saying we're going to go with Gibson this week, not Stevenson because of his fumbling problems. I don't know. We'll see how he responds to it. We'll see what the play calling looks like. That's the only way the Patriots win the game is if the Dolphins turn the ball over a lot and the Patriots control the line of scrimmage. How they do that without their starting center, I have no idea, but we'll see what's going to happen. It's an absolute train wreck of a football game. If you're watching it, bless you. I'm a Patriot fan, and I'm not sure I'm going to watch much of it. It'll be on. I've got 6 games on, but the 6th game in the early window. The 6th game in the early window is Cleveland on the road against Washington. This number is up to 3. I have bet this. I didn't do it officially for the Daily Juice, but I have come in. I'm going to follow the masses here, and maybe I'm going off of a cliff like a Buffalo and everybody else with the Commanders here at home against the Cleveland Browns. But the total is 44. The number is pretty much solidly 3 everywhere here. You think Cleveland's got one in here to kind of disrupt this party in Washington, or you like Commanders?
I like the over. That's what I want to bet on. I think that Watson looked better last week playing against the Raiders. We've seen this Commanders defense get absolutely shredded by every single quarterback they played except for last week against Kyler Murray. I think that Cliff Kingsbury, how he knows Kyler Murray, what his strengths and weaknesses are, I think that plays more into what that matchup showed us last week. Not, the Commanders defense is finally turning the corner. I
right?
don't think that's the case. I think it's still a very bad defense. It's still trying to learn Dan Quinn's scheme. So I think Watson, with the weapons he has, he's getting Njoku back. That matters a lot. Even if
Right.
Njoku's on a pitch count, I think that helps so much having that inside target, someone that he can check the ball down to, because he's been running for his life, right? Because his protection hasn't been there, but he's getting one of the tackles back as well. So I think we're going to get fireworks in this game. I don't need to convince anybody about how good Jaden Daniels can be, especially when you look at the Browns defense historically. Great defense at home, terrible defense on the road. So they're back
Yeah.
on the road here. Look, Jaden Daniels has been balling out on the road the last 2 weeks. They're coming home. Now the fans are so excited for their new rookie quarterback. They're the face of their franchise. I think that we're going to see some fireworks. And at 43.5, I think that this is an easy overplay for me.
To the late slate we go. My most controversial bet of the day, maybe of the week, maybe of the month here, Andrew. Raiders +3 against the Denver Broncos. The Las Vegas Raiders have won 8 straight games against the Denver Broncos. They've won 10 of 11 against the Broncos. This is just a team in turmoil, rallying for 1 week up against a team that they have generally owned. Antonio Pierce, his first game as a head coach was against Denver. He beat Denver. He beat Sean Payton. I love the stat that Sean Payton in week 3 and 4 is the most profitable coach in the Super Bowl era. After you get out of week 4, though, everything reverts back to how it is in weeks 1 and week 2. He's got a great run in the 3rd and 4th games. And after that, things just kind of fall off a cliff. I like the Raiders maybe to win the game outright, but I'll take the 3 points here with Raiders Broncos. Where are you?
I'm telling you on this one. I was waiting for you to drop the nugget about Sean Payton's week 5 track record, because I was blown away with weeks 3 and 4. Oh my God, this guy is unstoppable during these weeks. Oh no, week 5, we're here. Things are going to return back to normal, and you're going to see Bo Nix again. First time Bo Nix as a favorite, right? What could go wrong, right? So yes, I am definitely taking you Raiders +3 here.
Once I got the 3, I was like, okay, you want to give me a field goal? Yes. Divisional game on the road, Raiders dominating the Broncos. And the fact that, look, everyone's like Devontae Adams. I get that, but I feel like there's a chance here. I like Brock Bowers. I think Brock Bowers has a big game here for the Raiders. It's time for him to be let loose. He's been talked about here in town for a while about how well he's practiced, what he's looked like. And now the Adams situation, you're not wondering, like, was Adams going to play or not? He goes on the Kay Adams show. He says, basically, trade me to the Jets. Team's like, whatever, we'll deal with you later. We're going to go play football in Denver. They get out of here. I think it helps to leave Vegas to go to Denver on the road. Rally the troops. The one thing Antonio Pierce did really well last year after everything fell apart was he rallied the troops. It's just one game, and I like the Raiders season wins under. So them winning today is bad for me. They'd be 3-2 if they win today. I'm just going to bet a streak here in a team that has owned the Denver Broncos. The Raiders hopefully will continue to do so here today, catching 3 points on the road. Arizona and San Francisco. This number is all the way up to 7.5 at certain books. It's 7 pretty much across the board here for the 49ers. A lot of Brock Purdy love coming in. The total is up to 49 in this one with Arizona's inability to stop teams. This feels like another one of these just typical NFC West games where Niners dominate the Cardinals and it just keeps going like normal. Do they cover, though? Do the Niners cover their 7.5 point number?
I think the Cardinals are going to cover this game. I think that we've seen 2 dud performances back-to-back weeks from Arizona after they dominated the Rams, and we've also kind of figured out that's because the Rams defense is absolutely horrible and is a train wreck. But I think that the Cardinals keep it close here. You look at traditionally what the 49ers have done when they've been heavy home favorites. They usually don't cover these spreads dating back to last season. So I know this year they have covered the bigger spreads playing against the Jets and the Patriots, 2 AFC teams. So talking about, hey, this is a divisional matchup. I think that the +7.5, I think it's just too big to be totally honest. So I like the Cardinals here. They've shown, they showed last year with Joshua Dobbs the ability to cover these types of spreads. So you're giving me Kyler Murray again. Last week, the Patriots were 10.5 points on the road against the San Francisco 49ers. So you're telling me that on a neutral field, the Cardinals would be 3-point favorites against the Patriots? That's all it would be on a neutral field? I don't think so. I think the Cardinals are a way better team than that. So I really like the number here in particular at the +7.5.
Interesting. So there won't be a Wong teaser early, guys. There's nothing that qualifies, but we can do Wong teasers in the afternoon slate. So I'll post it on the Discord channel, which is bettingpros.com/chat to get in. I'll post it in the DJ picks side for the Wong teaser. It'll be closer to kickoff within 30 minutes of the late slate. So it's the 4 o'clock window East Coast time, 1 o'clock window for the West Coast. I'm pulling the Niners down. Okay. 7.5, pulling the Niners down to 1.5. I think they win the game, but I think Andrew's right. I think this is going to be a tight game. I think we could easily see this game wind up being a field goal one way or the other. Divisional game. I like the Niners to win, but I'm not sure the Niners will cover a 7.5 or a 7-point number. We can cross 7, we can cross 3, and we can come on down to 1.5 on this. That's the first leg. I'll confirm it officially coming up here later today after the early window. You mentioned an absolutely awful defense for the Rams. Yes, that's why I like the over. I'm on the over on the Rams and the Packers here today. I like the Packers -3 here as well. I think the Packers go out west. They win the game. I like offense. I like no defense for the Rams. High scoring game in LA. Where are you on Packers Rams?
Yeah, this one was tough for me because you have two explosive offenses, even with the Rams down some of their weapons. I guess that's my only concern is just because the Rams, how good can their offense really be? But if they continue to feed Kyron Williams so many carries and opportunities, he can take advantage of a bad Packers defense. So I'm not going to dissuade you from the over here. They lost Christian Watson. There's no Romeo Doubs, but you have the Packers just have this so much depth at the receiver position that you're talking about. I'm playing Bo Melton today in fantasy because he's on this Packers offense and he's playing the Rams defense, and that means he has upside. So yes, I could definitely see fireworks coming from this game in particular. I do like some of the anytime touchdown bets. I like Kobe Parkinson for the Rams. He's led all tight ends in red zone targets this year, hasn't scored yet. So if you're right about there being a lot of offensive production in this matchup, Kobe Parkinson is 3-1 to score an anytime touchdown, and he never leaves the field. So if the Rams are putting up points alongside the Green Bay Packers, I do like the Rams tight end to find the end zone.
Guys, maximize your prop betting success with the BettingPros Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. Instantly compare sportsbook lines with expert projections to find the best value. Customize your bets by filtering props by matchup, odds, and bet type, ensuring you only see the most profitable opportunities. Get tailored recommendations and track winning trends with ease using this comprehensive tool. Take your prop betting to the next level at bettingpros.com/props or on the BettingPros Sports Betting app, which is free to download in your app store today. All right, continuing with the late slate, Giants and the Seahawks. This number is up to 7. It may cross 7. It may get 7.5. If it gets to 7.5, this will be the other leg of my Wong teaser. We can pull it down all the way down to 1.5 for Seattle. 4 weeks, Andrew, 4 consecutive times the top pick in the Circus Sports Survivor has gone down. Not just not cover, has lost outright. Seattle is the number 1 pick. Of the 430, I believe, there were 14,266 entries that started the contest. We're down to, I think, 425, somewhere in that generalized range. And now Seattle is the top pick. Seattle can't lose to the Giants today, can they?
They're not going to lose, but they're not covering the spread. I'm sorry. This is the easiest, at least on the card for me. The Giants covering the spread. This is easy money, folks, because you got to look at the optics here, right? Who's coming off extra rest? The New York Giants. Who's a horrible home favorite by this wide of a spread is Geno Smith. Geno Smith never covers these games. And you know who plays on Thursday night this week against a divisional opponent? The Seattle Seahawks. So the fact that you have the Giants coming in, that they don't have Malik Neighbors, everybody's down on them. Yeah, Seattle will win this game because Geno Smith wins these games. But he's not covering this. I think it's at 7.5 now is actually what the spread is because everyone has just been betting on the Seattle Seahawks. This is an easy spot to back Big Blue.
You like pulling it down? Think Seattle wins, or can they lose the game outright?
No, I think Seattle's going to win. Seattle's going to win this game, but I think the Giants are definitely going to cover.
Yeah, so this will be the other half of the Wong teaser, pulling it down to 7 to 1 or 1.5. So we'd go with Seattle and San Francisco for the Wong teaser, which, by the way, is 0-4. So you can do what you want with that. I haven't hit one of these yet this year, so I'm 0-4. That's why we're doing the late slate. We're not going to go with the early slate. We'll switch it up and we'll wait to see how close. If we can get 7.5, that will be great. Hopefully, it doesn't go below. We see a late charge on the Giants here, but 7 feels like the ceiling. It feels like the pros are going to take the 7 points with the Giants. I think Andrew's right. Seattle is a 7-point favorite with a total of 42 seems okay. That seems high. Like that seems high. All right. Before we get to the final game, join our NFL podcast group. You can join the group by visiting the community tab in the Betting Pros app or by going to bettingpros.com/NFL contest. Sync your picks and use the quick pick feature on the Betting Pros app and get a chance to win free weekly or monthly prizes. Elevate your betting strategy and join the conversation today at bettingpros.com/NFL NFL contest. On to Sunday night we go. Good game. Dallas, Pittsburgh. Number is flipped. Open Dallas favored. Now it's 2.5 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Total is 43.5 in this one. I'm taking the Dallas Cowboys. I'm teasing them up to 8.5. Bills plus 7.5. Cowboys plus 8.5 here in this one. I think Steelers most likely win and cover, but I'm just not in love with Justin Fields. I think yet last week was a little bit of a sign as to where this offense might be headed. Where are you on Cowboys Steelers?
Kind of like the over in this game. As weird as that sounds, it's a lower number at 44 points. You have a Dallas defense that who else is playing for them? Did
Right.
they just lose more to defensive linemen? So their defense, what they're weakest against is the run. And what do the Steelers want to do more than anything else is just run the football. So I think that they'll have success on the offensive side of the football, whether it's Justin Fields or not. I think the run game is going to be really effective. And as great as the Steelers defense is every single year, Dallas is the best offense they've faced. So I think you're kind of getting a dip on the total overall. I mean, how many times do we see a Cowboys game where they're not facing the Giants with a total this low, right? That's kind of what you seem to expect. So I think Dallas can move the ball, especially, as good as Tomlin's defense have been, there's always something about them just always failing to defend the slot. They can never do it. It brings me back to my memories of them matching up with Keenan Allen with that linebacker. And who plays the slot for the Dallas Cowboys? CeeDee Lamb, their number one wide receiver. So I think that he's going to have a big game inside, because the Steelers just constantly cannot defend slot receivers. So I think you're going to see some offense on both sides of the ball. So maybe a little bit more of an exciting game on Sunday night.
Look, Thursday was that way this week with the Falcons, obviously, in their win in overtime up against the Bucs. I don't think it'll be 36-30, but I think you're right. I think the books and the public, everyone is shading these numbers lower and lower because of primetime unders, and they're just assuming primetime numbers are gonna come in. And I'm actually not thinking this way. I think you're right. I think under 45 surprised me. I was like, wait a minute. The only way the Cowboys stay in the game is by scoring. And I know TJ Watt, and I get all of that, but like, this Cowboys team should be able to move the football. Dak on the road in primetime, not bad to back him in terms of how many times he's going to throw the football and the weapons they're going to have to throw. Now, he needs time, obviously. Dak will have to be protected. But he gets time. I think he can pick apart the defense in the secondary for this Cowboys, for this Steelers team with the Cowboys offense. So Steelers probably win, but I think it's a 4 or 5, 3, 4, 5 point win for the Steelers. And I'm with you. I think the over, I'll look at this game. I'll look at a primetime teaser with this game. I'll take the Cowboys and go ahead and take 8.5, but I think Cowboys plus 8.5 and then take the total down to 36.5, depending on where we go at kickoff, and go over. I'm with you. I think that has I think Dallas will have a shot to win the game. I'll say this. I really do. I think they'll have a chance to win the game. They may not do it, but I think they'll be in the game late and have a chance to do it. And that's why giving them 8.5 points, I think is a solid play on Sunday night. All right, Andrew, run through your plays before we get out of here, and you get to go update your rosters for today before the kickoffs happen.
Yeah, so for picks against the spread, I like the touchdown dogs. So Cardinals plus 7.5, Giants plus 7. I'm taking the Jaguars to win at home, get their first win of the season, -3. From a totals perspective, I like the Washington and Browns game to go over 43.5. Fading all offensive everything in the Dolphins and Patriots game under 36 points. I'm telling you guys, it's going to be 10-7 when we look up. Props, fading the Bengals backfield, Chase Brown under 8.5 carries. And I didn't mention this on the show, but Brandon Ayuk, I think that, again, he's been quiet to start the year because of the contract hold-in, but I think this is the eruption spot for him against the Arizona Cardinals. He usually plays better at home. You look at this number, he went over it in 70% of his games at home last season. He had 100 yards against the Cardinals at home last year. So I think Ayuk kind of breaks out of his slump, goes for a massive game here against the Redbirds.
Very cool. For me, my card, I'm rolling here with the Ravens -2.5 against the Bengals. I like the Ravens in this spot. They opened up 0-2. They cannot keep, pace. They know what the Steelers, they get to win this game. The Steelers lost last week, chance to win. Maybe Pittsburgh loses, and the Ravens are right back into the divisional race. So huge game for the Ravens here. I think that the Bengals defense is going to have a tough time stopping their running attack. For the Ravens, I like Baltimore laying less than a field goal on the road against Cincinnati. I'm taking the Raiders +3 on the road. Like I mentioned, they've won 8 straight games against the Broncos in 10 of 11. I think they get the job done here. I like them. You can sprinkle money line on this for the Raiders to win the game outright. I'm going over on Bills and Texans. I'm going a little bit contrarian on that. Most people like the under in the betting world. I think we're going with the over there. I like both quarterbacks to have big games here and have a shootout type atmosphere in Texas. Rams and the Packers, we talked about the lack of defense rather for the Rams. Only way the Rams stay with the Packers in my mind is by scoring and trying to go up tempo. I like Packers to score. I like the Rams to score. I've bet the Packers as well, laying the 3.5 points with Green Bay on the road. Same thing with the Commanders at home, -3. If you want to jump in something extra, I think the Commanders also -3 is not bad. I'm teasing the Bills up to 7.5 and the Cowboys up to 8.5 for a teaser play. If you guys are looking for that here, the Wong teaser will happen in the Discord channel, bettingpros.com/chat after the first games are over. I will post it, but it's most likely Seattle and San Francisco. So going in, Andrew likes the dogs. I'm going to pull it down and take the favorites by less than a field goal with the Wong teaser. And then my player props, I think Brock Bowers has a big game here, over 44.5 yards receiving for him. I think this is the breakout spot for him going off for this offense. He's looked great in practice, and I think they're going to target him a ton here today against the Broncos. Terry McLaurin to score here. As I said, I like the Commanders. I think McLaurin's going to get into the end zone here at +175, and that's good value there. Brian Thomas Jr., I like this prop until I saw that it's the most bet prop today. Everyone is on this. I hate this. Brian Thomas Jr., I'm going with the masses. Fine. I like the Jaguars too. Andrew likes the Jaguars. Brian Thomas has been great. Everyone's on it. I hate that. And then Jacoby Brissett under 10.5 yards rushing, because I think you bet under on everything in that game. Under in the game, under for every prop. One of the uglier football games you're ever going to see. And my poor sister's going to be there actually having to watch this game and call it football. Can't really call it football. Does Brian Thomas get that done? Or is that just going to be the masses running off the cliff here? I'm pissed off about that. I like that prop. I bet it last night. I like that prop. And I'm like, son of a, I woke up this morning and like, it's on everyone's card.
Yeah, it was one of my best props on the BP prop show on Friday. So yeah, I guess I'm right there with everybody else. I guess we'll all be winners together or all be losers.
Son of a, I can't. I was just like, come on, man. I think it's like the number one bet prop at BetMGM by like 30%. Like everyone is on it. Like literally everyone's on Brian Thomas today to have over his receiving yards, over his receptions, anytime touchdown.
Well, like, I guess if anything does, I was seeing in the chat, it is a little rainy in Jacksonville. So that can go either way. Sometimes the defender falls down. It's easy to get those receiving yards, or you get a bunch of 5 targets for Brian Thomas and 0 catches because he's dropping the ball because it's wet. So
yeah, I go until I don't worry about weather until unless it's windy. I don't worry about weather till like week 6 or 7. It's a little early on the weather to start looking at weather. Once we get around Halloween, then we start looking at weather going, okay, how does weather impact unders? How does weather impact props? But I don't know. They practice in the rain. They live in the rain. It's Jacksonville. Like, what's rain in Jacksonville? I don't think we'll have much.
The Colts don't practice in the rain. So again, Jags, baby. Jags -3. Let's go.
True. The rain could help Jacksonville. Absolutely. The rain could do that for sure. Andrew, thank you for being here. We appreciate your time. I know you got to go run, get everything ready to go for the early kickoffs at 1:00 here. If you guys are on the Discord channel, I'll head over there. I'll put my full card there on the Discord channel so you guys can see it and we'll track it. I'll give you the extra plays as well as the Wong teaser after the 1:00 games are over for us. We're back next week. Same place, same time for week 6 of the NFL betting show. Best of luck, everybody.